Okay, so the other big news that came out yesterday was Valve announced 3 pieces. If you don't know who Valve is, owners of Steam and Steam Deck, they announced a massive piece of big free. Not my talk about burying the lead because I can't even get this statement out. They announced yesterday 3 new pieces of hardware. Let's quickly, like, one was a new Steam Deck controller. Sorry, what we calling it? What was the old Steam controller, big picture controller? We just call it Steam controller. They've already had the first Steam controller, which was just 2 touchpads, right? It was like horrible, nobody liked it. So now they've announced a new one. It's still got 2 touchpads, but it's a traditional. I could, if I was smart. Hold on, let me just get some pictures and stuff. This is important, big news. Valve hardware. You can see some ads on some third-party sites, right? Why not? Here we go, GameSpot. Why not? So yeah, this is the new controller that they announced. That was their first bit of hardware. So before, where a D-pad is, it was just 2 big touchpads, right? So this is just a traditional controller, but now it also has the 2 touchpads. You'll be able to use this with like normal Steam and big picture and everything, because you can buy this separately. It's got loads of features. It's got like TMR sticks. So if you don't know what TMR sticks are, like obviously like everybody wants Hall effect sticks now because they last longer, right? TMR is another upgraded technology from that, where it uses magnets to determine where the analog stick is. So apparently it's meant to be even better than Hall effect sticks. So they're very forward thinking on this, so that's great. It's got the 2 touchpads there still. It's got apparently I heard it's got like a user replaceable battery, but I'm not seeing where the back cover comes off. Hold on. Yeah, it doesn't come off there. Why are people saying user replaceable battery? Anyway, that's what I've heard. Obviously it's got the back paddles, and then you see the 3 pins there because it's gonna have like a magnetic lock kind of thing where you can charge the controller, so like for easy charging. It's gonna be around 80. Still a bit expensive, if I'm being honest. It's an ugly ass controller. The other big thing is like it's got gyro, but they've invented some touch sensing technology. Like depending where you're grabbing the controller, it will automatically enable or disable the gyro, which is a cool, interesting feature. Yeah, that's the new controller. Again, everybody's comparing it to the OG Xbox Duke because it looks ugly and massive, but I've seen it in people's hands. It's not actually that massive. It's just a weird looking controller, but like functionally people are saying it's good. It's already got a better D-pad than the current Xbox controller, so and then they announced a new VR headset. Again, I'm not really into the VR space. I think VR is dead at the moment. So if anybody wants to know, it's just like it's an improvement over their last VR headset. The big technology improvements here is they're making it fully wireless and it streams through a dongle, because they're using 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi with a dongle that comes with it. So they're using that band exclusively to stream like games to the headset, so you cannot be tethered with wires. Obviously it's a redesign and everything, and they're using, I can't remember what the term is. There's where in video games like developers have invented this new technology, whichever way you're looking, that's where the engine is doing all the rendering, so it can save on rendering costs. So it will not render what you're not looking at, so something behind a building or behind your vision of view, to save on rendering costs, right? The way that Valve is making this wireless VR headset work is something similar, that there's an eye tracker in there, and the eye tracker knows where you're looking, and it will only it will increase the bit rate for where you're looking when it's doing the streaming, and anywhere you're not looking, it will lower the bit rate. So that's how they're getting it to work, which is interesting. Again, the reason I'm not interested in VR, you need a decent computer to run it well, first thing. Second thing, heavy, cumbersome. Third thing is, I think augmented reality is where the technology is at. That's where we should be going and pushing it. So, and there's not enough VR games that come out anyway. So why invest that much? It's just stupid. If because we're always prosumer here. I think it's really, don't invest in VR, chat. There's no games. There's literally no games. Why invest in this, headset and expensive PC and money and all that? And then that's why Meta's VR headset is doing the best, because it doesn't require a PC, which I I am bearing the lead here again. They've actually made their headset where it also doesn't require a PC now. It's got an ARM chip in there, and it can load like mobile games and stuff as well, so you'll be able to use it the same. But if you're going that route, like Meta is the king of that. But you know, don't buy anything Meta, chat. They're trash. So they released a new headset. There's probably pictures around there somewhere. You know, I want to talk about this, and I'm just like, there you go. There's the headset. They've redesigned it, everything. Batteries in the back. You got these new controllers. You know, all the motion control gyro technology that comes with these controllers. So I'm surprised they made another VR headset. I'll be honest with you. You know, because it's not pushing the technology. Like the latest and greatest VR headset is like about $3,000. I forgot the name of the company, right? It's $3,000, and it's so small. It's the size of a pair of glasses. Like that's where the high-end VR market is. But it's so comfortable. Like that's how you would want to wear it and use it. So still having these big headsets, you know, it's not as big as the early, you know, from a couple of years ago, but it still is that. You know, and from what I hear, Apple's Vision Pro is like a flop, and it's too expensive. And so, but they had some augmented reality stuff in there, but like HoloLens, because Microsoft's flopping everything, so they didn't like follow that through. But that's where this technology needs to go, you know. I saw something about something similar where glasses with built-in screens now, and the screens are so good that people can't see the screens built into the glasses. Was it Google that is doing it? I can't remember what. But you know, that's where the technology needs to go. And I still feel like VR headsets and augmented reality are still two separate divisions. And it's a shame. I feel like these need to combine, and we just need to go full augmented reality at this point, you know. Anyway, so that's their VR headset. Interesting. But then the big news that came out of this is this. Some people are calling they officially called it Steam Machine. It's Steam Machine 2.0. For anybody who isn't a boomer out here, Steam Machines originally came out like 10 years ago. Let me cough into this mic, I'm dying out here. 10 years ago, I would say, if you don't know what a Steam Machine was. So back in my day, chat, I think it was when Windows 10 or Windows 8 or 10, I can't remember. One of the Windows, there was like, what Microsoft did is it all goes back to Microsoft like it always does. They said that, oh, we're implementing this thing where you can't like download apps on your PC anymore. Everything that you make has to be a Microsoft app. And the only way you can install it on your PC, you have to get it through the Microsoft Store. Anybody remember this? Remember that craziness? So they had basically Windows apps, and it was just like a flop out the gate. So what they said was, oh yeah, but you can still install programs like you do traditionally from websites and all that. Initially they made it where there was a toggle in one of the windows and they let you do it, and then they realized nobody's not using the Windows Store, so they just let everybody do it normally. And now, like, you know, they still have their Windows Store and you can still get Windows Store versions of apps, but they changed it a couple of years ago. So the Windows Store version of apps were specially coded because it had to be a Windows Store executable, and it was all like security locked, so you couldn't access those folders on your computer. So they had to be made separately than a normal app, basically. Anyway, it was such a flop that even Microsoft went back on it, and now even the Windows Store apps are made like normal apps. So they don't have to be compiled separately. They compiled like a normal app because it didn't work. But anyway, when that happened, Valve was like super pissed because they was like, what the hell? That's basically, it seems like a monopoly. It seems like Windows and Microsoft is doing this to kill all third-party app stores. Because they would, imagine this, right? Like, we all know about the drama around Apple iPhones and Android phones. And if you got to get, because there was the whole drama around Fortnite, and like if you have to get the app through the App Store, then the App Store takes a cut. And if they take a cut, then the people who own the app, like the apps, they lose. So it gets more tricky when if it's like, what if it's Epic Store or if it's Steam and they have to be on the app stores, because Steam already takes a 30% cut from publishers and developers. But if they're on the Microsoft Store, then the Microsoft Store is going to take a cut on top of that. So you can understand why Valve was like pissed, right? So to get around this, what they said, oh, we're making our own operating system and we're going to be selling computers and all that, and it's going to be called a Steam Machine. and you know, it was all around to, because they was worried about what Microsoft is doing. Anyway, long story short, they did this like 10 years ago. It was a flop. It was a massive flop, because on one side they didn't have the software to go along with the hardware, so nobody didn't really care at that point. Also, I would argue Steam wasn't as big as that point. And then on top of that, Microsoft caved, and as soon as I can't remember what version of Windows it was, like literally 6 months into it, they said no, you can install apps normally. Sorry, we're sorry. Please, we're sorry. Please use Windows. We're sorry. So all of that was a flop, and then everybody was like, oh, there's no reason to buy the Steam machine then, because you could just install apps normally on Windows now. Anyway, so then they shelved it for 10 years. They haven't done anything with it since. Obviously, since then, Valve is not only does it own the biggest PC gaming store in the world by a country mile, they also have started to make hardware again now, you know, like better hardware, because they made another VR headset which the hardcore PC gaming crowd really liked. They made the controllers like we was talking about, which people didn't like, but they still got used to making hardware. And then obviously their biggest smash hit recently, not smash hit, but hit, was the Steam Deck, right? Which hardcore PC gamers really like. It's not selling like crazy, only a couple of million, but it just shows their chops of, you know, they're getting used to making hardware. So anyway, there was a rumor about, there was rumors being swirling for months now that, they're doing a Steam machine. They're doing another Steam machine. They're going to try to do Steam machine again. Because right now, if you don't know, like, you know, Microsoft is doing a lot of anti-consumer practices. They're back to their old ways. There's the whole thing of, you know, they're supporting a genocide and everything. So everybody's trying to boycott Microsoft again now. You know, like Microsoft has got its own problem with its own Xbox division and everything now. But so there's been a lot of push for Linux naturally anyway, because the other side is that Windows 11, with Windows 11 is kind of bad. There's loads of snooping and spying software. It's got the built-in AI which takes screenshots of your computer. So it's like even the normie crowd is realizing, Windows 11, even though it's good for gaming performance wise, is a bloaty mess. We don't want it surveilling our computers and taking screenshots and all the AI stuff. So there's been a lot of like even up to like popular YouTubers like PewDiePie has been telling everybody to go to Linux, whatever. Like, you know, in my mind, he's anti-genocide, and it's because, you know, Microsoft supporting genocide and all that stuff, and you know, he knows, but he wasn't saying that. But it's more to do with, he probably realizes that Windows 11 and the snooping, spying stuff and the AI stuff and screenshots, he doesn't like, you know, Windows 11. He's still one of the biggest creators in the world. And then just the general hardcore community is also saying, you know, go to Linux. And then with the fact that Android's got so big now, and these portable handhelds and ARMs got so big, all of these are like running Linux basically. So Linux is in a much better state now than it was 10 years ago. And on top of that, Steam has gotten bigger, like I said, Steam Big Picture, and now they've got the Steam Deck. Even their software is at a way better state now. So we come 10 years forward, they're doing another Steam machine. It's still going to be running Linux. It's still going to be running Steam OS. But like I said, 10 years makes a big difference now, right? A lot of people are already moving off of Windows for all the reasons we've said. Valve has got way better at making hardware, like we said. So this time it could be majorly successful. So like I watched a Digital Foundry video, because this came out of nowhere. Apparently even press sites, they only told like a couple of hours before, and some people knew like a week before. So nobody never knew about this. So it looks a lot like an Xbox Series X. You know, if you look at it, it's like half the size. That's why everybody's kind of mimicking, making fun of it, calling it the Gabe Cube, because Gabe Newell, right? And then they're calling it the Gabe Cube. But we gotta talk about, because we're nerds here, and this is the stuff that I talk about. Like, we gotta talk about the hardware specs of it, because, you know, it was probably designed a couple of years ago, and now it's coming out now. And the other funny thing is, like, what they're doing with this box, I'm jumping all over the place with this. Like, the rumor is what the next Xbox was gonna do was it was going to be a home console / PC, and it was gonna allow you to install third-party stores, you know, so you can install Steam on it and Epic Store and all that. And that was the way they was gonna claw back their market share, right? But it's funny because this is basically what this box is. So everybody was memeing online, going, "Oh man, Microsoft must be pissed because, you know, Valve is doing what they're planning to do, but 2 years earlier. And there was like a tweet going around with Phil Spencer, and he was saying, "Oh, TLDR, we're happy that they've released this. It's great because we're a third-party publisher that publishes everywhere now." So everybody was just kind of laughing. If we talk about the specs wise of this is where it gets a bit tricky. So originally, Valve has done the interviews with certain press sites, and they've said that we're very price conscious of this device. So it's not the latest cutting edge technology. It's got 16 gigabytes of RAM, but it's only got 8 gigabytes of GPU RAM, or whatever. What's the term I'm looking for? VRAM, right? Video memory. And 8 gigabytes of VRAM, it's a big red flag because a lot of games require more than 8 gigabytes of VRAM to run at certain settings. Like Indiana Jones is the big one that we're talking about. Now, depending on what resolution you play at, you need like 10 or 12 gigabytes of VRAM. And if you look at PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, they have like 10, they're like 16 gigs RAM, right? But they got 10 available for game developers. So it's even coming in lower than the consoles. If we look at the GPU of this is like RDNA 3, right? Sorry, the CPU. Wait, I'm getting confused now. Anyway, so the CPU, it's one generation above what's in the consoles. It's not as a higher wattage because it's a 30 watt TDP, where the consoles can go up to like 100 and something, right? So technically it's probably a better GPU, even though it's clocked at a lower wattage, but it's one generation newer. The problem is the CPU. The problem is the GPU. The GPU is basically underpowered, so it hasn't got enough VRAM, and the power spec of it is it's gonna sit between an Xbox Series S, Microsoft's lower version. Sorry, I got a cough again. Microsoft's lower version, and so it's gonna sit between that and a PS5. So power-wise is between a PS5 and an Xbox Series S. So when people saw the original press release and the PR drops that Valve was doing, everybody was like, "Oh yeah, PC gamers were already coping, right?" It was like, "Oh, what's going on here? It's not as powerful as we want." But then it was like, "Oh, it depends on the price. If the price is right, then okay." So everybody was coming in going, "Oh, it's probably going to be a $400 bucks, pounds, whatever box, and that'll be okay, right?" So, but then later on in the day, because they still haven't announced the price for it, now the conversation is around, "Oh, this might be $700 pounds, bucks, whatever. It might start at that price." So it's not going to be a £400 machine. It's going to be a £700 machine, because they're saying this is still a PC. The way they've advertised it, they said it's a PC / you put it's a game console / PC, right? But then the problem is now you can pick up Xbox Series X or PS5 for around the £400-500 mark, depending if you get new, used, whatever, right? And it's going to be more powerful than this. So you're like, wait, you're releasing this, it's meant to compete with the consoles, kind of, air quotes, but it might be more expensive and it's less powerful. So depending on the price, this could either do gangbusters or this could be dead out the gate, because here's the other big fly in the ointment is, even though I said, I was doing that whole spiel about Linux and Linux is good and Steam OS, people don't know that there are still certain games that are not compatible with the Steam Deck because it's Linux. Prime example, Battlefield. Anything that uses anti-cheat, because certain games are only compatible with Windows because they want to use anti-cheat, and anti-cheat is not compatible with Steam OS. So there's about 20% of the library that you can't run on Steam Deck or Steam OS or Linux. Do you see what I'm saying? Apparently with this announcement, they did loads of other little announcements that wasn't getting the press. They've invented this compatibility layer that they've been working on, that a lot of Windows games, they can get to work through this compatibility layer, but still not everything with the anti-cheat. But it is a good thing, because if this sells 10, 20, 30 million, which I don't think it is, but if it does, that will force like EA and all these developers that have anti-cheat to be like, "No, bro, like this is selling millions, everybody's buying this, we have to make versions for the Steam machine," So it's a chicken and egg scenario. If this really does kick off and it sells numbers, again, Steam Deck has only got about 2-3 million sales. Like, why would EA care that it doesn't run on a Steam Deck? One, is underpowered and it's only got a couple of million users. But again, if this could start selling, then I think developers will be forced to, make their games like develop some version of anti-cheat that runs on Linux or something, wherever. So, but this won't run your entire Steam library. 20% of your games might not work. Is underpowered, and then finally, what is the price going to be? Because this is, so when they sell this, it's coming out next year in like March or something. They're going to sell this with the controller, right? And they're making it so much console friendly. It's like you press the power button on the controller, it's going to turn on the console. So there's PC crowd is coping, going, the reason it's going to be expensive is it's actually a PC. But bro, they're aiming for that console crowd, really and truly, But if they can get the price right, like where I am now, I'm so fed up with the consoles, even though it's going to be less powerful than the PS5 and Xbox Series X. If they can get the price right, I'm willing to buy this, and I'm willing to cover this as a standardized console to say, oh, this is the Steam Machine version, and this is how these games work. Because Steam games are so much cheaper, like digital, everything's going digital now. We just, we can boomer. I could be a boomer all of as much as I want about it, but physical is dead, like straight up. Physical is dead, so you might as well curate your digital libraries now. But again, it depends on that price. Because if this comes out next year, remember the rumor is that next generation consoles are coming out in 2027. So if next generation consoles come out in 2027, this comes out in 2026, and this is already not as powerful as current gen consoles, and if this is $700 and there's no way next gen consoles are going to be that price, then next gen consoles are going to be a generation ahead of this, and they're going to be the same price. So it's going to, can it sell that much in a year that it's already got a big enough head start? So again, the key with this is, if most people think it's not going to be 400 now, but this has got 400 written all over it. Because then, if we're going technical nerd stuff, this is where you come to me for chat. There is some technical, other than the VRAM and everything we talked about. Because I still think this is a 1080p box. If you can do 1080p and then you do FSR, upscaling and all that, this will be fine for 1080p. The other issues with this is, so let's talk about what's inside. So at the front, it's got a USB port and it's got a SD card slot. The reason it's got a SD card slot, they also announced this with their VR headset. It was like, our VR headset also has an SD card slot, and this has the SD card slot, so you can carry your games around and everything. But the problem is, it's not an SD Express slot, what is in the Switch 2. That's the new generation of SD, where you can use those as storage mediums for your games. Because SD cards are too slow, so you can't use those. Certain games that require fast storage, you can't have the game installed on the SD card and run from that. So in essence, this is useless. If you're using it for PC games, you can't have your games installed on your SD card and then run from your SD card. You'd have to probably install them on the internal memory. The internal memory is 512 gig and is the M.2 drive. There's going to be a 2 gigabyte version also, which is going to be more expensive. The good thing is the RAM and the internal storage is user upgradable, which is a good thing. But I'm saying, why did they shoot themselves in the foot? Why not just make this an SD Express slot? If they make this an SD Express slot, because SD Express cards are obviously going to come down in price, they could use this as an easy expandable storage option. That's the first dumb thing. The second dumb thing is, if you look on the back, so it has a couple of USB ports on the front and the back. Some of them are USB 2 and some of them are USB 3 Gen 2, and there's one USB-C, right? There's an Ethernet, the power brick is built inside. It's got a HDMI. It's apparently only 2.0, but that doesn't matter because apparently it costs money to license HDMI. So it will still probably do HDMI 2.1 specs. And then it's got a DisplayPort, which is good. Because in the trailer they used it, show it with somebody on their desktop doing multi-monitor stuff and using it like a computer, right? But still, how much are you going to use it like a computer? You're going to have to install Linux on there. So, I rate Linux, but it's not at that level yet. So the other bad thing here is, eGPUs, external GPUs are massive now. It's a big business now, and they're running well. And you could imagine you could buy external GPU for a couple of £100 and you could plug it into this. That will fix all the problems of this being underpowered. The problem is eGPUs requires Thunderbolt 3 or 4, right? 4, or like USB 5. Are we on USB 5 now? Wait, Thunderbolt 5? Sorry, Thunderbolt 5, right? Because using USB 4 or Thunderbolt 4 limits the eGPUs. And there's another proprietary port. It's called Oculink. But Oculink is not big enough, so I can understand why they didn't include Oculink. But why did they not include Thunderbolt 5? It's madness. Like, if they would have included Thunderbolt 5 in this, like, all these PC handhelds are coming with Thunderbolt 5, are coming with USB 4. Like, this has USB 3. Like, what? You haven't even got USB 4? Like, so that is like that is a crazy strange decision. Because if this was, because this is still probably going to be compatible with eGPUs, but it's going to be very limited because these older technologies are not good with, actually, I don't know. Because it requires Thunderbolt 3 and 4, and this only has USB 3, and there is USB 3 doesn't necessarily have to be Thunderbolt 4, because it could be USB 3 Gen 2 and it could only be 20 gigabit. So yeah, it might not even be eGPU compatible. And again, this is a modern device, like, so it's like little things which I don't even think will cost them that much. Sure, the Oculink port would have cost them that a lot. Thunderbolt 5 wouldn't have cost them that much, like, you know, and changing this to an Express slot. So it's like little things. And again, if this is going to be 700 and now all these little things are starting to add up, even at 400, I think it's unexcusable that there is no USB 4 or Thunderbolt 5. And this is not SD Express. That is silly. And if it's 700, like, are you crazy? Like, are you crazy? You didn't add those features and you're going to sell it at 700. You know, there's pictures of it. There's like a light bar there that you can justify. The front faceplate is removable, so you can add like custom faceplates and all that. Like, it looks nice. It looks slick. The core here is though the price. The price is so important. You know, if they try to sell this at 700 minimum and they try to blag it and say this is a PC, even though it is a PC, but realistically they're making this as a home console. They want this to be a competitor to you know, like imagine this. There'll be no reason to buy a Series S if this comes out at that price range. This Series S is already dead because Game Pass is too expensive now. But this will do everything the Series S does. It will be better performing. It will be custom user upgradable. And you got free online and everything, easier, cheaper Steam games and all that, you know. But again, if it's triple the price of a Series S, then there's no point. Then we're gonna go right back to square one, and I'm gonna say, oh, actually, chat, you might as well just buy a used PS5. If you can wait 2 years, buy a next generation Xbox or PlayStation, you know, because they're gonna come in around the same price and they're gonna be way more powerful. Because graphics matter at the end of the day, you know. Obviously, you're gonna still have to deal with Microsoft and PlayStation stores and all that, and paying online. But so this could be like, if they would have added those things that I said, even with it being underpowered, I would have been cool with that. Because if people really want to, they can add it an eGPU, which eGPUs can end up being very expensive. You have to buy the GPU, you have to buy the enclosure, blah blah. It can end up being about £500, but still, and you know. But if this starts at £700, like by itself, then you're in gaming laptop territory. And remember, the specs of this are gaming laptop specs. But then it comes to the point of, why do you buy this over a gaming laptop? Because a gaming laptop has speakers built in, has a monitor built in, it's portable, you can carry it everywhere, you can use it for office work and all that, and there's a fully fledged computer on its own. You still have to buy peripherals for this, you still have to buy a monitor for this, speakers for this, everything. If you're coming in at the price of a because you can get decent gaming laptops for about 800, you know, and which are going to come with more storage and RAM than this. Gaming laptops come with 16 to 32 gig RAM. They come with 1 terabyte minimum storage, and depending on what version you can get, it probably will have a better GPU anyway. So then, you're going to say, okay, this has gaming laptop internal specs, but if you sell it for £700-800, like, what? Again, as a content creator, for me, this is weird because I'd probably cover it anyway. Because I think if we got a standardized platform, this will be big enough where, like, remember I was telling you the reason I don't want to cover the Legion Go 2 because I don't know how many people are going to buy it. I would have covered the Steam Deck, but I'm a bit late on it because Steam Deck is getting so big now. People want to know, oh, what does this game run like on Steam Deck? So if they can make this a unified platform and it sells like at least like 10 million, it'll be worth it enough for me as a content creator to go, oh, what is the Steam machine version? What does this game run like on the Steam machine version? You see what I'm saying? But they can at the same time shoot themselves in the foot in a lot of ways very quickly. So, you know, that price is important. But yeah, I wish that store the port options was a little bit better. And we don't know the price yet. You know, if this is 400, I would say it's a great deal. I would still say the port options are a problem. But from what I'm thinking, because they've already showed it open. Now I'm getting real nerdy here, chat. So inside it's got, I think it's got 2 M.2 slots. If it's got 2 M.2 slots, you can add a custom Oculink port, really and truly. Like if you want to go that route, and then you could route the cable out the back, whatever, and then you can jank some kind of eGPU solution, which is still an option, I guess. There won't be that much of an issue to run it out the back, but it's a nice bit of hardware though. But it's just like certain things are just you know, things that I don't think adding an SD Express slot would be expensive. I don't think adding a Thunderbolt 5 slot would be expensive. I don't think adding USB 4 would be that expensive, you know. But it's still a very interesting announcement. So again, we haven't got the full picture yet because we don't know the price. Price is so important. We don't know the price, but it's still fascinating stuff, you know. So, but the thing is, the problem is now the PC crowd, which is just as toxic and just as fanboy as the Xbox crowd, as the Nintendo crowd, as the PlayStation crowd, they are fanboys for PC. They are glazing this like crazy, right? Oh, the Gabe box, the Gabe box, the Gabe box. It's a glaze and a half, right? Because there's a play on Gabe New One, there's a play on GameCube. Does the GameCube look like this? But you know, they're not looking at the other things of, oh, they could kind of shoot themselves in the foot. So all these PC master race guys are going, oh man, yeah, I'm gonna buy it day one. But at the same time, they're like, oh, consoles are underpowered, and why would I buy a console when the graphics are shit and blah blah blah. But at the same time, they're willing to forgive everything for this with that. Some of the hardcore PC crowd are going, oh man, red flags, you know, it's a bit underpowered, whatever. But you know, I give criticism everywhere fairly, so it could be again depending on that price. Could be very good thing, could be very bad thing. I guess we'll see, right? So